There comes a time in life when the very people who overlooked you, who doubted your potential, who made you feel invisible, will finally see what you've become. But by the time they notice, you'll already have outgrown their opinions, their approval, and their expectations. Because pain has been your teacher, and silence has been your strength. You know what's powerful? Silence. Not the kind that comes from weakness or fear, but the kind that comes from strength. The kind that says, I don't need to explain myself to anyone anymore. Because when you truly decide to change your life, you stop talking about it. You start working on it. You stop chasing validation and you start chasing purpose. And that silence, those quiet hours when no one sees what you're doing, that's where your power begins to build. See, most people waste their energy trying to convince others that they're capable. They argue with doubters. They explain themselves to critics. They defend their dreams to people who never had the courage to chase their own. But the truth is, the moment you stop explaining yourself, you free yourself. You take all that energy you used to waste on talking and you pour it into action. That's where transformation begins. There will be a time when no one believes in you, when your ideas sound too crazy, your goals sound too big, and your vision sounds too impossible. People will laugh, they'll doubt, they'll walk away. And that's okay, because silence becomes your greatest friend in those moments. You don't need to fight for attention. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to keep showing up for yourself, every single day, quietly, consistently. Silence teaches you to trust yourself again. It makes you stronger. It forces you to look inwards, to listen to your thoughts, your pain, your hunger. When you work in silence, you begin to hear the truth that the noise of the world often drowns out, that you are enough, and that you already have what it takes to rise. You don't need the crowd. You don't need the applause. You don't need them to see you now, because one day they'll see the results and they'll realize they were watching history in the making. Let them doubt. Let them sleep on you. Let them underestimate you. That's where your strength hides, in their disbelief. Because every time someone tells you you can't, you add more fuel to your fire. You don't argue with them. You don't try to change their minds. You just keep moving in silence until your success speaks for you louder than your words ever could. There's a peace that comes when you no longer care to be understood, when you no longer need to explain why you're grinding so hard. People won't understand why you wake up early, why you stay up late, why you cut out distractions, or why you've gone missing from the noise. But that's fine. You're not supposed to be seen right now. You're supposed to be building. You're supposed to be becoming. And when the time is right, when you've done the work, when you've paid your dues, when you've earned your moment, the world will notice. They always do. But by then, you won't need their recognition anymore, because the silence that once felt lonely will now feel like peace. The same quiet that once felt heavy will now feel powerful. You'll look back and realize that silence didn't hold you back. It shaped you. It made you disciplined. It made you patient. It made you unstoppable. There's something deeply powerful about the person who doesn't announce every move they make, who doesn't post every victory, who doesn't beg to be seen. Because those are the ones who are dangerous, the ones who understand that real success doesn't need a spotlight. It needs work. It needs sacrifice. It needs late nights and lonely mornings. So if no one's clapping for you right now, good. If no one believes in you, perfect. Because you're being given a gift, the gift of building in peace. The gift of growing without the world watching. And when the time comes, when the world finally notices you, it'll be too late for them to catch up. You'll already be far ahead. That's why your silence isn't weakness. It's your weapon. It's the space where you build your strength, your vision, your future. So stay quiet. Keep working. Let the world sleep on you now, because one day they'll wake up and realize what they missed. And when that day comes, your silence will be the loudest sound they've ever heard. There comes a time in your journey when you'll realize that not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people will only walk with you as far as their comfort allows. And when your path starts demanding sacrifice, they'll fall away. It's painful, yes, but it's also necessary. Because the truth is, growth will always cost you people. The ones who didn't believe in you, the ones who doubted your potential, the ones who left when things got difficult, they were all part of the process. And one day, when they finally see who you've become, when they realize what you were building in silence, it'll be too late for them to come back. You see, we often think the pain of being left behind is a punishment, but it's not. It's preparation. Every person who walks away is clearing space for something greater, stronger relationships, deeper connections, and real purpose. You had to lose them to find yourself. You had to walk alone to understand your own strength. And while they were busy judging you, while they were busy doubting your efforts, you were quietly transforming into someone they never saw coming. There's beauty in being underestimated. There's power in being ignored. Because when no one expects anything from you, you are free to become everything. You don't have to prove a point. You don't have to meet expectations. You get to rise without pressure. And when the time comes, when your results start speaking for themselves, the same people who doubted you will be the ones asking how you did it. But by then, your focus won't be on proving them wrong. It'll be on continuing to grow. They'll notice when it's too late. When the person they once brushed aside is standing in the place they never thought you'd reach. When the same doors that were closed for you start opening because of your name, your discipline, your persistence. When the voice they ignored becomes the one everyone listens to. When your silence turns into success and your pain becomes your power, they'll notice and they'll remember the moments they could have supported you but didn't. And that realization will burn deeper than anything you could ever say to them. You see, success has a way of revealing the truth about people. Some will celebrate you genuinely, while others will envy the growth they never believed in. But you don't have to return their energy. You don't have to look back, because every ounce of your progress came from moving forward, not from proving yourself to anyone. You owe your success to your persistence, not their approval. And that's the beauty of it. You didn't need them then and you don't need them now. When you were struggling, they didn't see the fire inside you. When you were fighting your battles in silence, they mistook your stillness for weakness. They thought your quiet was surrender, but you were just learning, building, becoming. They didn't know that every rejection was shaping your resilience, that every failure was preparing your foundation, that every night you spent in doubt was building the strength you'd need for your rise. That's why when people finally notice, when they finally open their eyes, you'll already be far beyond the version of yourself they once knew. You won't need to explain how you got there. Your work will speak for itself. Your peace, your confidence, your growth, it will all tell the story. And when they realize what they lost, the opportunity to believe in someone who was destined for greatness, it'll be too late to go back. The thing is, your success was never meant to be their lesson, but it will be. Because sometimes the best way to teach others is not through words, but through example. By showing them that the one they doubted didn't just survive, they thrived. The one they ignored didn't just rise, they soared. The one they left behind didn't fall apart. They rebuilt stronger, quieter, and unshakably focused. So don't chase their recognition. Don't wait for them to notice. Don't waste your energy trying to make them see your worth. Because while they're watching, you could be working. While they're talking, you could be moving. And while they're doubting, you could be becoming. Let them underestimate you now. It'll make your comeback all the more powerful. Because one day, when your name starts to echo in places you never imagined, when your work starts touching lives, when your success starts inspiring others, they'll remember how they treated you. They'll remember the silence, the absence, the disbelief, and they'll realize that they were witnessing greatness in its rawest form, but they couldn't recognize it. So let them notice when it's too late. Because by then, you won't need their acknowledgement. You'll be too busy living the life you once dreamed of, too focused on your purpose, too grounded in your peace. You'll understand that their doubt was never your limitation, it was your motivation, and that's when you'll smile. Not out of pride, but out of understanding. Because everything happened exactly as it needed to. They had to doubt you so you could discover your strength. They had to walk away so you could walk your own path. And they had to notice too late. Because it was never their journey to see. They'll notice when it's too late. And by then, your silence will have already told the story of your rise. There's something powerful about the quiet moments when you're working and no one seems to notice. When you're giving everything you have, but it feels like the world doesn't care. Those are the moments that truly define who you are. Because it's easy to stay motivated when everyone's watching, when people are clapping, when recognition keeps you fueled. But what about when it's just you and your dreams? What about when there's no applause, no validation, no one saying, keep going? That's when the real strength is tested. That's when character is built. We live in a world that's obsessed with attention, where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated instantly. But real growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. It happens when no one's watching, when no one's praising, when the only person believing in you is you. That's where legends are made. That's where the difference between those who wish and those who work becomes clear. You see, people might overlook you now. They might not see your effort. They might think you're wasting your time chasing something impossible. But that's okay, because sometimes silence is your best protection. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do is let your work grow quietly. You don't need to announce every move. You don't need to prove yourself every day. You just need to keep building, brick by brick, day by day, until one day, the very thing they ignored becomes the very thing they can't ignore anymore. They'll notice when it's too late. When your quiet dedication turns into undeniable success. When your name starts echoing in rooms you've never even entered. When the same people who once questioned your path start quoting your words. But by then you won't even need their attention, because your purpose will already be louder than their praise. There's something sacred about the grind that no one sees. The long nights, the doubts, the failures, the silent tears you wipe away because you refuse to give up. That's the part no one talks about. Everyone sees the results, but they don't see the process. They'll see the victory, but they'll never know the cost. They'll celebrate your success, but never understand the loneliness it took to reach it. And that's okay, because it wasn't meant for them to understand. Those who succeed don't do it for attention. They do it because there's something burning inside them that refuses to die. A vision that keeps them awake at night. A voice that whispers, keep going even when no one believes. You see, the world may not recognize your effort now, but that's only because you're still in the planting season. Seeds don't make noise when they grow. They just break through the ground one day and surprise everyone. And when your breakthrough comes, they'll think it happened overnight. They won't see the years of patience, pain, and persistence it took to get there. That's why you have to learn to love the unseen. Love the process no one applauds. Love the effort that no one notices, because that's where greatness is born. Every successful person you admire once walked through that same valley, where no one believed, no one clapped, and no one noticed. But they kept going. And that's why they made it. People will always underestimate what they don't understand. They'll question your decisions, your path, your silence. But remember, noise doesn't equal progress. Sometimes the loudest people are doing the least, and the quietest are moving mountains. Stay quiet. Stay focused. Let your results speak louder than your explanations. And one day, when you finally rise, when your time comes, when your light shines so bright that no one can ignore it anymore, those same people will come back pretending they always knew you'd make it. But you'll know the truth. You'll know who was there when no one was watching. You'll remember who supported you when you had nothing to show. And you'll smile, not out of pride, but out of gratitude. Because now you'll understand that their doubt was your discipline. Their silence was your space to grow. When you choose to stay patient, when you choose to build quietly, something shifts inside you. You stop needing approval. You stop craving recognition. You start valuing peace over praise. And that's when your power multiplies, because you're no longer working for others, you're working for purpose. You're not chasing applause, you're chasing alignment. And the most beautiful part? When your breakthrough finally comes, it will be so undeniable that you won't have to say a word. Your growth will speak for itself. Your progress will silence every doubt. Your peace will confuse every critic, because by the time they notice, you'll already be living in the reality they thought was impossible. So don't be discouraged if no one sees what you're doing right now. Don't feel invisible when your efforts go unnoticed. Because the truth is, invisibility is sometimes the greatest gift. It allows you to build without pressure, to grow without judgment, to prepare without interference. Keep your vision sacred. Keep your goals private. Let them see the results, not the process, because one day, when you stand in the place you dreamed of, when your name carries weight, when your success speaks volumes, they'll remember how they never noticed the grind, never saw the effort, never believed in the journey. But by then it won't matter, because you'll be too far ahead to look back. They'll notice when it's too late, and that moment of realization will be your quiet victory. There comes a point in life when silence becomes your best strategy. Not because you're afraid to speak, but because you've learned that real transformation doesn't need an announcement. You've realized that people don't always deserve to know your next move, your plans, your dreams, or your progress. Because not everyone who listens wants to see you win, and sometimes the best way to build is to build quietly. You don't have to tell everyone what you're working on. You don't need to post every small achievement or explain every single thing you're trying to change. Because when you talk too early, you invite energy that's not meant for your path. You invite opinions, comparisons, and unnecessary doubts. Some people will hear your dream and instantly tell you why it can't be done. Not because they know better, but because they stopped believing in themselves long ago. It's strange, but people fear what reminds them of their own potential. Your ambition triggers their insecurity. Your progress exposes their comfort zone. That's why silence is power. When you move quietly, you protect your vision from being polluted by other people's disbelief. You protect your spirit from unnecessary noise. You give yourself space to focus, to fail in peace, to rise without distraction. You see, there's something sacred about working in private. When it's just you and your dream, no audience, no judgment, just focus. That's when you connect deeply with your purpose. That's when the work becomes real. Because when no one's clapping for you and you still keep going, that's proof you're driven by something deeper than validation. You're driven by destiny. And that's the difference between those who talk and those who build. Talkers announce what they're going to do. Builders stay quiet until the results speak for them. You'll notice, the most powerful people in the world don't move loudly. They don't chase attention. They move strategically, patiently, and purposefully, because they know that results make more noise than words ever could. Every time you talk about what you're planning, you release some of the energy meant to fuel that plan. You start to feel satisfied before the job is even done. That's why discipline demands silence, because silence keeps the fire burning. It keeps the hunger alive. It reminds you that you're still in process, still building, still becoming. So keep your plans between you and God. Let your work be the proof. Let your progress be the evidence. Let them wonder how you did it. Because the truth is, they'll never understand the hours you spent when no one was watching, the sacrifices you made, the tears you wiped away in secret, or the moments you nearly gave up but didn't. They'll only see the end result, and by then, it'll be too late for them to doubt you. When you move silently, you also create peace within yourself. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing approval. You start working from a place of calm confidence. You no longer rush to prove anything to anyone. You simply focus on proving it to yourself. Because when your intention is pure and your energy is focused, success becomes inevitable. People will start to notice your change without you saying a word. They'll feel it in your presence, they'll see it in your actions, and they'll realize that something about you has shifted. That's what silence does. It transforms you from the inside before anyone even realizes it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're moving differently. You don't have to justify your solitude or your focus. Growth often looks like disappearing for a while, pulling back, staying low, and working harder than ever. It might confuse people. They might think you've stopped. But you haven't stopped. You've just shifted your energy from talking about your dream to actually building it. And when that season of silence ends, and you finally step into the light, everything will make sense. The people who doubted you will fall silent. The ones who ignored you will start to ask questions. The ones who laughed will start to listen, because nothing commands attention more than undeniable success. And success that grows in silence becomes unshakable. So learn to move quietly. Learn to keep your peace sacred. Protect your vision like it's the most fragile thing in the world, because it is. Don't let small minds contaminate big dreams. Don't let external noise distract you from your inner calling. Every moment of silence you endure is a moment of strength you're building. You're not missing out by staying silent. You're preparing. You're not being overlooked. You're being refined. You're not behind. You're being positioned. The world might not see it now, but soon everything will align. And when it does, your results will speak louder than any word you could have ever said. Let your silence be your strength. Let your progress be your proof. Because when you finally rise, you won't have to say a single thing. Your success will do all the talking. There will come a day when everything they overlooked about you will suddenly matter. The same people who once dismissed your efforts will act like they always believed in you. The same ones who doubted your potential will try to rewrite history and say, "I knew you'd make it." But deep down, you'll remember. You'll remember every time they looked away when you needed support. Every time they ignored your vision. Every time they laughed when you spoke your dreams out loud. And in that moment, you'll realize something powerful. You never needed their validation in the first place. That's the beauty of growth. It humbles you, it isolates you, and then it elevates you. When you were struggling, no one was there to applaud your effort. When you were staying up late, working in silence, battling your own doubts, no one noticed. And that's okay. Because what they couldn't see, God could. What they overlooked, destiny didn't. Every hidden moment was building your strength. Every unseen tear was watering your roots. And those roots are what will hold you steady when the spotlight finally finds you. It's always funny how people only notice the flower once it blooms. No one cares about the seed or the soil or the storms it endured. They only admire the result, not the process. And that's exactly what will happen with you. When your season arrives, they'll see the glow, but not the grind. They'll see the success, but not the struggle. And you'll smile not out of pride, but out of peace, and because you know how much it took to get there. You see, people often underestimate what they can't immediately understand. When your path looks different, when your dreams seem too big, when your goals don't match their comfort zone, they pull away. They label you as unrealistic. They say you've changed. And they're right. You have changed. You've grown beyond their limitations. You've stepped into a space where belief matters more than approval. And that's what hurts them. Not your success, but your evolution. Because your growth reminds them of what they could have been if they didn't quit. Your discipline mirrors their excuses. Your light exposes their shadows. That's why some people won't celebrate you even when you win. Your victory disturbs their comfort. But let them be uncomfortable. You didn't come this far to make them understand. You came this far to fulfill your purpose. There's a saying, they'll ignore you until they can't. And that's the truth. You don't have to beg for attention. You don't have to chase acknowledgement. Keep doing the work. Keep showing up. Keep becoming. Because one day your consistency will make noise so loud that even those who tried to silence you will have to listen. And when that day comes, don't waste your energy proving anything. Let your peace prove it. Let your progress prove it. Think about it. You've already survived things that were meant to destroy you. You've walked through doors that others said were closed. You've grown in silence, healed in private, and rebuilt yourself from the ground up. That kind of strength doesn't need applause. It's already its own reward. And yes, sometimes it hurts when the people you expected to support you are the first ones to disappear. But understand this. Their absence was protection. If they couldn't value you when you were small, they don't deserve to benefit when you grow. Your journey was never meant to be a group project. It was meant to be personal, between you, your creator, and your calling. Because what's meant for you doesn't need to be understood by everyone. It just needs to be trusted by you. That's why patience is your greatest weapon. Let them sleep on you. Let them underestimate you. Let them whisper. Because when your moment comes, when everything aligns, when your time finally arrives, they'll notice. They'll act surprised, but you'll know it was written all along. You'll realize that their silence was never a sign of your failure. It was a sign of your separation. You were being set apart to grow differently, to think differently, to move differently. The isolation was never punishment. It was preparation. You were hidden because you weren't ready to be seen yet. You were being refined for the exact moment when your value would be undeniable. And when that moment comes, don't let bitterness speak. Don't say, "Where were you?" Just smile. Because your presence will say everything your words don't have to. Let your success be the echo of every silent struggle. Let your peace be the loudest response to every doubt they had. Because when they finally notice, when they finally realize what they missed, it'll already be too late for them to catch up. They'll see the new version of you and wonder when the change happened. But you'll know. It happened in the dark, in the pain, in the seasons they weren't watching. You built yourself quietly so you could rise loudly. You became the version of yourself they never believed you could be. So don't worry about who's watching now. Focus on becoming the person they won't be able to ignore later. Because when you rise, you won't just prove them wrong. You'll prove to yourself that everything you endured had a purpose. And when they finally notice, when they finally understand who you've become, it won't even matter anymore. Because by then, you'll have already outgrown their opinions. There will come a time when the same people who once overlooked you, doubted you, or even laughed at you, will be forced to face the reality of your transformation. And when that day arrives, you won't need to say a single word. Your growth, your peace, and your success will speak for you. But listen carefully. That moment isn't about proving them wrong. It's about realizing that you were right to keep believing in yourself when no one else did. It's about understanding that your journey was never about them. It was always about you becoming who you were meant to be. Because let's be honest, pain changes you. Rejection shapes you. Isolation teaches you. Every moment of being underestimated carved strength into your soul. Every time someone walked away, it gave you the space to walk toward your destiny. You see, people will only value what they can see, but greatness is built in the unseen. The world will clap when you win, but heaven was cheering while you were still struggling. That's why you can't wait for validation. You can't live for recognition. You have to live for purpose. And that's what this moment is really about. Realizing that you are no longer the person they remember. The old you that needed approval, that waited for someone to understand, that crumbled under doubt, that version of you is gone. You've evolved through everything that was meant to break you. You've turned your pain into perspective, your struggle into wisdom, and your loneliness into power. Now when they see you, they won't recognize you, because you've stepped into a level of peace and confidence they can't comprehend. But here's the truth. Your evolution will make some people uncomfortable. The same people who once ignored you will start to feel uneasy around you, not because you changed too much, but because they changed too little. They'll look at your growth and feel reminded of their own stagnation. They'll call you different, distant, or proud, just because you stopped shrinking to fit their comfort. Don't take it personally. Not everyone can handle the version of you that finally knows their worth. When you start to rise, not everyone will clap. And that's okay. You don't need the crowd anymore. You don't need applause. You just need alignment. Alignment with your purpose, your peace, and your principles. Because you're not here to impress, you're here to impact. You're not here to be liked, you're here to live with meaning. And once you understand that, the opinions of others lose their power over you completely. Remember this. You didn't survive everything you went through just to end up bitter. You didn't fight through your storms just to prove a point. You made it through so you could become the point. Living proof that transformation is possible, that strength is real, that silent battles can lead to the loudest victories. And when they finally notice, when they finally see what you've built, when they finally say, wow, you've changed, you'll smile. Not out of pride, but out of peace. Because yes, you have changed. You've grown into the version of yourself you were always meant to be. And maybe they'll regret how they treated you. Maybe they'll remember how they didn't take you seriously, how they doubted your dreams, how they left when you needed them the most. But that's not your burden to carry. Don't let resentment live where peace now belongs. Forgive them, not for them, but for you. Because holding on to the pain keeps you tied to a past you've already outgrown. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You just need to keep moving forward. Silently, steadily, purposefully. Because when you're walking in alignment with who you're meant to be, you don't chase anything. You attract everything. Your energy shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your blessings start finding you, and suddenly, everything that once hurt you starts to make sense. Every delay, every disappointment, every no that once broke you, it was all directing you toward this moment. You were never being rejected. You were being redirected. You were being refined so that when you finally arrived, you'd be ready to handle the success, ready to carry the peace, ready to live the purpose. So when they finally notice you, let them watch. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them question where you found your strength. You don't need to explain it. The truth is, they'll never fully understand what it took. The nights you cried, the prayers you whispered, the doubts you fought, the faith you held onto when nothing made sense. But that's okay, because your story wasn't meant to be understood by everyone. It was meant to be lived by you. So stand tall in your silence, smile in your strength, and keep walking in your purpose, because you've already won. Not because they finally noticed, but because you finally became closing line. They'll notice when it's too late, but by then, you'll be too far ahead to look back. They'll notice when it's too late, but by then, you'll be too far in your purpose to turn around.